Welcome back to the Marathon series in depth. In this video we will start the next chapter, Durandal, with If I Had a Rocket Launcher, I'd Make Someone Pay. The chapter screen shows a security officer on the surface of low 1 second moon, Yoloa, holding up a minigun. We will learn this is low 1 second moon in the first terminal on this level. This would mean that the larger planet on the top left is the planet of low 1, and the smaller moon above the crashed boomer is the Chigia, as we also learned from the Spitcur's secret message. The security officer's minigun does make him look like a badass. It's too bad we don't get to use the gun in the game. There is another one of Craig Mullen's art that also has a minigun, which you have probably seen plenty of times for the Marathon story page. The idea of using a gun like this is quite fitting for what is coming up on this level, as there is quite a difficulty spike as well as an abundance of enemies. The desert in the image has a vibe from Tatooine in Star Wars. This isn't the only Star Wars reference, as there is a netmap in Marathon 1 titled You Don't Need to See My ID, which of course comes from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. That netmap also has a bridge that was inspired from when Obi-Wan deactivated the tractor beam. In this sky, you can see the two remaining sister moons of Low 1. The security officer appears to be looking on the wreckage of a ship, which is presumably Durandal's ship, the Boomer. Things are not looking good at all. The original level design notes show that this chapter was going to be called 4. The level, If I Had a Rocket Launcher, I'd Make Somebody Pay, is quite a memorable one. It could be the brightly colored and obnoxious lighting that are complements of Durandal's changes to the Boomer. It could also be the ridiculous number of enemies. Or it could be the rocket launcher you get at the end. It really is quite a unique experience. Here's what the level creator Greg Kirkpatrick had to say about it. This level is the only one I ever thought I actually had to prove that I could do it on Total Carnage. The rest were cake. It was actually toned down for the game too. This level is really a challenge on Total Carnage, but with a few tricks and some skill, it is quite doable. It is probably the first level where many players discovered the pure bliss of dual-wielding shotguns. All that shotgun ammo we have been saving up is going to be quite effective here. The level is named after a song titled If I Had a Rocket Launcher by Bruce Cockburn. It was released in 1984 and was a song written for political purposes. The song literally has the line, "If I had a rocket launcher, I'd make somebody pay" in it. Bruce wrote the song to voice his frustrations after visiting a Guatemalan refugee camp and watching helicopters attack innocent civilians. Guatemala was in the midst of a civil war at the time. Anyways, each chorus of the song has the phrase, "If I had a rocket launcher" 3 times, and then a short line about what he would do if he had one. The first is, "I'd make somebody pay," the second is, "I would retaliate," the third is, "I would not hesitate," and the last is, "Some son of a bee would die." I think this progression of getting revenge against the foe in your rage is what Greg Kirkpatrick was going for. The trip to the Boomer will last for all the levels in this chapter, which is 4 in total. This is quite interesting because our first trip in Marathon 1 to the Boomer was 1 level, our second trip was 2 levels, our third trip was 3 levels, and now our fourth trip is 4 levels. I guess this makes sense for those of us who know how to count. I'm just surprised we didn't end up visiting the Boomer 7 times. This level also marks the first time we face simulacrums in the Marathon sequel. The simulacrums have some new lines that include,
"Kill me! No! No! Don't shoot! I'm out of ammo!"
and of course the infamous,
"Frog blast the vent core!"
You might be wondering exactly what that line means, and thankfully the origins of the line were described in the Marathon scrapbook. One of Bob's more unusual lines, "Frog blast the vent core," caused considerable controversy among fans. What was really said, and what did it mean? Doug explains how this arose. The idea was that some of the assimilated Bobs became insane from their conversion and run around yelling nonsense. Alex said to me, "Say something random," and that phrase tumbled from my lips, totally spontaneous. While I could have sat down and thought up something more random than that, it worked out well, since it sounded close enough to a real sentence that it kept people guessing and generated some fascinating and totally wrong discussion about what the phrase was and its meaning. One popular theory was, "God bless the Marine Corps," which was a fair guess, but still wrong. I also mentioned this line way back in the first Marathon game on Bigger Guns Nearby, so go back and watch it again if you want to learn more. Interestingly, there is some concept art for Marathon 2 which shows what looks like a 4 ripping at his chest and then exploding. This makes me wonder if Bungie was considering adding 4 that explode like the simulacrums but never implemented it. Here we are on If I Had a Rocket Launcher, I'd Make Someone Pay. Thankfully, they were nice of us to give us a ×3 shield recharge station at the start, but that's not necessarily a good sign. We get a couple shotguns if you didn't have them, and a nice little window view. Let's read this first terminal.
The first 4 dropship landed 12 minutes ago, and the troops have already penetrated the hull. It seems that our standard operating procedure calls for me to transport you into the worst fighting. Maybe you could slow them down. It may only seem like a matter of hours since our last battle, but remember that 17 years have passed for those of us who did not spend the voyage from Tau Ceti in a stasis chamber. A few things have changed. We're helpless on Lawan's second moon, our engines have been destroyed, and all primary weapons are offline. Life support has failed in most areas. Enjoy yourself.
Durandal tells us that the 4 dropship landed 12 minutes ago and the troopers have already penetrated the hull. The terminal image appears to show this penetration in the hull with the troopers. The walls of the hull show what appears to be some of the 4 language that still remains within the boomer. I am guessing the yellow wall behind them is the inside of the 4 dropship. Durandal tells us that he is going to transport us into the worst fighting. He absolutely isn't lying, as we are going to face an utter onslaught of enemies. This is going to be fun. It seems that during the battle with Zephyr and Battle Group 7, the boomer's engines and primary weapons were destroyed. Life support has also failed throughout the ship. Things are not looking well. Fortunately, this level is not a vacuum level, but more than likely it was originally going to be one. More on that later. Anyways, Durandal tells us that we are hapless on Lawan's second moon. We know from the terminal on the last level that this moon would be the Giloa. This would be the surface of the moon that we see out the window and in the chapter screen. Right away things pick up, but if you actually get by the switch right away, you can avoid a lot of enemies. But we don't want to do that. I want to say that ×3 should recharge. Waiting for the Bernal switch. There's actually a limit to how many troopers come here, but you might as well, it's so many of them you might as well not even wait. Okay, we gotta be careful of all these different stop shooting me. Okay, once you get through here, some of them spawn behind you, so you have to be kind of careful. So let's read this terminal. Oh, sorry, that's a... What am I thinking? There's times when shield recharge station, not very helpful, honestly. So we're coming here, and then some enemies teleport in. The best thing you can do is just kind of run back here and keep moving. I actually need to hit that switch to open the doors, but I'm dying. I think there's a ×2 right here. I gotta get it real quick. I probably should. I almost died, but there's a ×3 right here. which isn't good because I really wanted to save it for the next area, but let's go ahead and start opening this door. Okay. That was a mess. I don't know why I can't. I think I'm out of, I must be out of fusion pistol ammo. What I would have preferred was to save that ×3 for when I go through, but I pretty much have full health, so it's not going to make a huge difference. I'm not going to run back and save because I might get more troopers on me, so we're just going to go forward. You know, we get some allies who don't really help, they just get stuck on each other. Thanks Durandal, I guess. Maybe we can get the hunters to come in and fight these guys. Come on. Help me out. Oh, they're just gonna go that way? Okay. Okay, I see how it is. Okay, there we go. We got those guys. And we didn't get hurt, thankfully. Oh, I forgot. I didn't even think about this save right here. There's a save right here. That's nice. Okay, so when we cross this, we gotta be careful because some. Hey there. Oh, we're dead. There's no way you can get out. Because this is going up and down, you can't possibly get out. Okay, let's see. If we just come over here. Okay. I have a feeling I accidentally loaded a save I had that didn't have all my guns, but I'm not really that sure. I'm trying to get a chance to get everyone off me so I can come read this this nice terminal over here from Tycho, but okay, let's see if we can read it now in peace.
Durandal's ruin is written everywhere. This doomed ship reeks of it. The infiltration of your ship's network has begun, and the next 4 dropships have just landed. Durandal will be too stubborn to see the truth, but you may still. There's nothing you or he can do to save yourselves or the humans you've brought here.
This marks the first message from Tycho in Marathon 2. Durandal had told us in the last mission that Tycho was with the 4. I guess it was just a matter of time before he contacted us directly. The logon screen has the Marathon logo in red, which is a bit surprising since Tycho has joined forces with the 4. He joined sides with the 4 who attacked the Marathon. The terminal image shows the red Tycho, although the text doesn't look like it was written by a computer. This is probably because Tycho is a bit of an angry AI who may possibly be rampant himself. The symbol next to his name is a bit hard to make out at first. If you look closer, however, you will realize that it is actually a distorted image of the red Marathon logo on Tycho's login screen. I think this distortion of the Marathon logo is symbolism for how Tycho was one of the Marathon's AIs, but was taken over by the 4, who were the very ones who attacked the Marathon. It represents a distortion of the AI's original purpose, and perhaps also a bit about how Tycho has gone completely insane. Regardless, Tycho mostly just gloats about how what appears to be a very certain victory over Durandal. Tycho tells the security officer that Durandal is too stubborn to see the truth, but the security officer may yet still. Is Tycho trying to convince the security officer to do his bidding? Why would the security officer want to help an AI that joined the 4? Of course, the security officer will have something to say about this so-called truth but we will have to wait and see what happens. In the original level design notes, Tycho starts out this terminal saying, "There you are," like he was purposefully looking for the security officer. This text was also very much different, as Tycho would have explained how he became allied with the Four. Anyways, I think the idea is that we don't really know what is going on with Tycho, but we can be sure he is going to tell us more as the game progresses. Okay, there we go. Now we gotta... So now you gotta be careful here because there is a shield recharge station up ahead, but there's all these freaking troopers on the way. And they, well, great, as you know, they take out your health quickly. So there's some shield right here. So now we're pretty much at the end of the level. You know, get our spanker here. Actually, we already had a spanker. There's actually 2 doors we got to get through here. Well, actually there's just one. Never mind. We should go get some more rockets before we leave. Oh well, we only got one more, but we can go ahead and save it. Let's read this last terminal.
You did well. But all the human defenders elsewhere near the hull have been routed. You must fall back. The humans have fortified the interior of the ship, near the teleporter array. I'll try to evacuate as many of the Spit and the humans down to the planet as I can. You must hold off the Four as long as possible.
The image on this terminal shows a bit of static and distortion that shows us that things are not going well with the AI. Combine this with some of the garbage text and we get something similar to the damage being done to the AIs in the first Marathon game. Durandal tells us that we did well, but things are still not going well, and so we must fall back. Durandal is teleporting the Spit and humans down to the planet. The security officer needs to hold back the Four so that Durandal can teleport as many Spit and humans as possible. But my one question is, what about Durandal? Will he be able to survive on the low one's computer net without the boomer? Or is he done for after the Four take over the ship? We know Durandal is a resourceful AI, so he definitely has something up his sleeve, and we will have to wait and see where this heads. If I had a rocket launcher, I'd make someone pay is an iconic level in the Marathon Trilogy. While the new color on the boomer ship is quite obnoxious and disorienting, it sort of fits the psychotic nature of Durandal. Not to say that there couldn't be better options of doing this. I just think this very strange color palette was done on purpose in order to get a reaction out of the player. After talking to Durandal, the security officer is teleported into an area with a locked door with troopers that seem to endlessly come from the areas up above. The idea is that you need to hit the switch to open the door and fight off the troopers while picking up ammo. While the enemies do feel endless, there is actually a limit of an additional 30 minor and 30 major troopers that will spawn in. This of course means 60 major troopers on total carnage. It is definitely more than I would care to deal with. At the start of the level, there's actually an endless supply of shotgun ammo that can spawn in as well. You don't see them teleport in endlessly, however, because the map has a maximum count of 40. This number includes both shotgun ammo in the inventory, as well as shotgun ammo on the map that can be picked up. Once the counter gets below 40, you will once again see shotgun ammo spawning in. There is actually an infinite amount of ×2 shield recharge canisters on the map also. The problem is that there is an initial count of 5 and a max count of 3. This means that after you pick up the first one, additional ×2 shield canisters won't appear in this room until you pick up a ×2 canister farther in the level. This is because more than the max count of 3 already exist and they are further along in the level. This doesn't seem helpful because you probably won't come back here once you get through the door, since it closes behind you and locks. You can, however, return by grenade hopping up into the tunnels that the troopers come from. In fact, you can use these tunnels from the start to skip a large portion of the level and skip the second door, which is quite nice. This means you only have to wait for the very last door to open and makes the level considerably easier. With all this ammo teleporting in, we are quite thankful for Durandal and the Spit's effort to aid us against the foe. It's nice to know that we are being thought of. Another interesting way to approach the first room is to actually stay near the switch and not take the temptation to pick up the ammo and explore. If you stay in right by the switch, you can literally face just a few enemies before the door fully opens. This is quite hilarious as you skip most of the pearl of the large number of troopers. I doubt Greg noticed this. Once you get the second door open, you might be tempted to run in for the save terminal, but watch out. Simulacrums will spawn behind you if you rush in, and this will most likely lead to your death. It's a nice little trap set for us. One thing interesting about going through the first locked door is you can actually stand on the door to keep it from closing. The door will still close eventually, but the timer will be reset. A better use for riding the door up is actually so that you can jump into the raised tunnels around the map. This will allow you to skip a large portion of the level also. With this method, you don't need to eat a grenade in order to jump up there, which is quite nice. You could also use the explosions from the simulacrums to get to the raised hallway, but that just sounds painful. This method could come in handy for Vidmasters, however. The second door that you need to get through has a large number of hunters that spawn in. This is quite difficult to deal with, but unlike the first door, you can actually kill everything and then safely proceed on without more monsters spawning in. There is a ×3 shield recharge station in a corner not far from the door, so don't miss that before proceeding on. You might notice that there is an oxygen canister station near this door. What could that possibly be there for? The original level design notes showed that this level was going to have low gravity, but not be a vacuum level. This level does have enemy types that are all vacuum enabled, with the exception of the simulacrums and bobs. I think there must have been a point somewhere in development where Greg was considering making this a vacuum level. The ammo types on this level, however, don't actually fit the weapons you would use in a vacuum, so my guess is that Greg either put this in as a red herring, or the level was going to be a vacuum level somewhere early on in its life cycle. It's probably a good thing he chose to not make this a vacuum level, because it is hard enough as is. After getting past the second door, the level is pretty straightforward. Get the rocket launcher and wait for the exit to open up. You could consider saving the ×3 shield recharge canister by the rocket launcher for the next level if you like. The rooms next to Tycho's terminal have some interesting mechanics where there are polygons that will turn on the lights and off the lights. These polygons will also cause the pink fluid to rise and lower. Be very careful of dropping into the pink fluid while it is rising and lowering, because it is almost impossible to get out. The polygons do make the weirdness of the whole thing even weirder, if that was even possible. Near the rocket launcher, you can jump into the red pool and find a secret passage that takes you to a staircase that leads to the window overlooking the rocket launcher. In network games, there is a good chunk of ammo and an invincibility BCE that will spawn at the window. On single player, this secret isn't very helpful. You should note that there is actually a film out there of Greg Kirkpatrick playing this level himself. It is nice to know that the level creator is able to beat his own level. Greg Kirkpatrick, however, was not the only Marathon developer to show off himself during the level. This was also done by Randy Redding. Both of these guys have films out there showing off this feat. Randy Redding wrote a quick quote about how both he and Greg were able to get through the level. The trick is to open the door as soon as you get to the switches, kill all you can with the shotguns, get the rocket launcher, and go to town on the aliens, going back through the passageway to the first rooms. Before we end this video, there is one more interesting thing you might notice when you look at the switches on the boomer. In the Marathon scrapbook, Hamish revealed that Mark Bernal hid his initials in one of the switch textures. The search for this secret was on. The story page tells us that it took quite a while for the Marathon fans to discover where his initials were. I caught up with Mark Bernal on Discord and asked him about these switches, and he shared a fun story about them. Nice to meet you, Gyokyu. Yes, the switches used on the alien levels form my initials MB when they are switched on. During the many hours of texture art drawing, you find ways to amuse yourself and keep it interesting. At the time, I was the noob at the company. I didn't mention to anyone that the switches looked that way for a reason. They all knew the switch had to look alien and strange. Once I finished it, I believe I showed it to Jason. I think I remember him tilting his head and giving me the, yeah, okay, look that is Jason. Then I knew he was fine with it. After that, I probably showed it to others. Well, there you have it. That's it for this video, and man, was it a ride. In the next video, we will be playing Sorry, Don't Make It So, where we will be revisiting a familiar place. See you all then.